Existing conditions of the property, if you can see where the existing contour lines are, the lot does drop significantly down from Washington Street, drops about 7 feet fairly quickly, and then flattens out to a lawn area, continues down into the border and vegetated wetlands. The lot is traversed by a 20-foot wide sewer easement. You can see on the plan about it comes about halfway through the property. What we're proposing to do is create a building footprint of 36 by 60. We do show a proposed dwelling within. They will be putting in a garage. The driveway itself will come straight in from Washington Street to the garage on the north side of the property. The grading, there'll be a lot of fill brought into this particular property. It will and drainage swales will be created on both the north and the south side of the property to direct the runoff or any runoff that may come from our property to the back, so that the lots to the north and the south don't have any excess wetland or excess runoff run onto their property. The wetlands themselves are delineated by flags number 1 through 12. We are proposing to put in a siltation fence along the 10-foot buffer for a portion of the wetlands, and then we're going to bring it across to, there's an existing stone wall that will be used as a portion of a new property line. This lot has not been created yet. That is a proposed line. I think, you know, there again, there's, with the sewer easement running through, the sewer goes to the back of the property. The sewer service will go into the back of the property through into the existing easement. Water service will be out onto Washington Street. If there are any questions, I'll be perfectly happy to answer them.
So the river doesn't flow on this property, it's behind the property?
No, the river is substantially behind the property. It's actually all on the land of the Mount Vernon Cemetery.
Okay, and the 200-foot riverfront district
doesn't reach our property.
Doesn't reach the property at all?
No.
And it looks to me like there's already been an approval, because the sewer easement goes right through the wetlands.
Right.
So we'd be kind of hypocritical if we...
Well, sometimes when you put a utility easement through, you know, sometimes you allow stuff that's going to go underground.
Right.
So it's a little different, I think.
This has been approved by zoning?
This has not had to go through zoning.
Oh, okay.
The lot will conform to everything too.
Okay.
So does it go to planning either?
It will go to planning because there'll have to be a Form A plan done.
How far back is the fill going to go, should the plotting go? Because
totally it's going to go back 40, 76, roughly 90 feet.
So
the house is going to be inside, the fill is going to be, there's going to be 40 feet of fill basically. And then there's going to be the house, and the house will have a walkout basement. So it'll drop down along each side of the house to existing grade.
Compared to the other houses, is that in step with?
It's exactly the same as both of these houses actually.
Okay, because both them go back.
Yeah, the house here, the Messier's house here, does the same thing. The driveway comes in here, drops down into the garage, so they have a walkout here. When this house was built, there's a retaining wall here that drops down about 4 or 5 feet, and and it's about, the back of the house is about 6 feet lower than the front of the house.
Want to open up to the public? Or?
Is there a botanist report with this one? Don't think I didn't see one in here, but maybe I just didn't get a copy. Thank
If you
you.
don't mind making a copy of it.
Okay, we'll have to ask Nancy to
Sure.
make a copy. Has anybody been to the property?
I'm familiar with the other properties next around it, and they all have the same thing. They all are high in the street and go down in the back.
Yeah, that's
Each
true.
and every one of them.
I went to and had a look at the property. And, you know, there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of cutting back you're going to have to do, right? To bring in the fill and all.
Yes.
Because it's just, if you run Washington Street, it's
Oh,
right
they're all,
there.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's overgrown. I did take a photograph of it. Let me just see. Is that, oh no, that's not the one. There it is there. You know, that's the pathway, Washington Street, and that's.
Go by it every day.
Yeah, you go by, I know, we all know it. We actually all know the land, yeah.
Yeah.
So there wasn't, I was trying to look where the wetlands were way back. And it's quite far back,
Oh, yeah.
actually, quite far back. And then the cemetery is further on
Right.
back.
Right.
So, I guess the question I had was, how much fill are you bringing in? My favorite question
I haven't
tonight.
done that calculation yet, Nancy.
Does anybody know if you have to tell the selectmen now? What was the thing in the
Yes,
past?
yeah,
100 yards.
anything over 100,
Okay.
anything over 100 yards, I
Yes.
believe, you
Yeah,
have to go to the
so-
selectmen and get a permit.
Yeah.
This will
So,
definitely be over.
So we know it's over 100 yards.
that's what I suspected, that it's
Oh, yeah.
over 100
Right.
yards.
It'll definitely be over 100 yards.
So-
So you will have to go to the selectmen
Yes.
for a permit. And as far as the proposed swale goes, you're gonna put one on both sides of the property?
Yes, that was when we went in front of the zoning board, with there is a plan, at first they wanted to bring in the driveway and have a side entrance on the garage. And where this whole property, lot one is actually a part of the estate of Francis and Wilhelmina Messier. We were going to grade slightly over the property line, and the zoning board had said that because we're in the overlay district, it really, you want to treat the property line like a property line, and they asked us to move it. So what we did is we slid the driveway over, and made the garage a front entry garage, and,
Yeah.
Okay, we had a break in the tape, sorry about that. Would you say your name and your address, please?
Yeah, Jim Franny, 931 Washington Street. I can't see that well from here, but,
You're welcome to go right up there, go ahead.
no, I don't want to get too close to it.
Do you want one of these plans? We have all these plans. Do you want
Should've
one?
gone by binoculars. No, that's all right, I think the questions will take care of it. I just want to be absolutely clear. This is a request for a single-family residence.
yes,
That's
Correct.
correct.
yes, that's all they're doing, putting a single-family house in there.
And that's going to be in the woodlot beside the existing Messier's house?
Correct.
How many trees are you going to take down?
A lot,
A lot of trees.
a lot of trees are gonna go.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Catherine Bells, 237 Bedford Street, whoever I'm here from my father lives directly across 894 Washington Street. I just had a question. There was a pond back there that I used to skate on, and I mean, it was wet enough to skate on. Is it still there?
Yeah, we call out there's a
Is it just a wetland?
edge of wet area right in here.
Okay.
So yeah, we do
It was actually a
recognize it.
rectangular shape. It was.
Yeah, I don't know, when we got, I'll tell you the truth, Kathy, when we got there to locate the flags, it was pretty overgrown.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the actual shape of it, but we did see
Okay.
where the water was.
Wet enough that you could skate all back there.
Yeah.
Okay. As a native-
I didn't see
I grew up across the street from it also, so that's.
I was looking at it tonight, but it was so overgrown, actually, you couldn't really see anything.
Yes?
Yeah, just one more. I think the area she's talking about may well be a vernal pool. Is there a way to have that checked?
Well, they're not going to build in it, right?
Say again?
They're not building in it or near it, right, the vernal pool?
They're not gonna bother us.
No,
Yeah.
we'll,
Yeah,
We're well in excess of that.
It's in the lot.
You think it's on that particular lot, or does it extend onto
I
another lot?
think it's in that Messio
It's in
lot.
that- It's in that lot, I think.
Well, it could be all the way back, because it shows edge of the wet area,
It's before the river.
and then it has the limit of the 100-year flood behind even the wetlands, which is way
That's for the
back
river, that
from the
100-year flood,
proposed
I
siltation
think.
fence.
And you're talking about vegetation that you just can't get back to,
Right.
right? It's, they're not, they're not cutting it down, they're not going near it, and nobody can actually get to that.
What are you saying?
You're talking about vegetation that you just can't get to. I mean, from what I could see, it's all
Talking
very
about the
heavy.
pond that's
Yeah,
toward the rear of their lot. You can
Right.
get, I walk up there every day.
and you see it right there before the vegetation?
Yes.
There's a vernal pool. Okay.
It might be on the cemetery property, I'm not sure.
Oh.
I think, I've always thought of it as being the rear of the Messier's lot.
Right.
Oh,
It's not gonna bother us,
That's,
that you
that's
don't
beyond
have
what
to-
we're looking at.
doesn't bother us.
Jim,
Yeah,
the
it didn't
blue line
show up.
there is where the hay bales are, they're not gonna be doing anything behind that.
Yeah.
You realize that?
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, I don't know what the distances are governing vernal pools, and that may well be a
Oh.
vernal pool.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and the only thing I can tell you is I didn't see a potential or a vernal pool listed on the Massachusetts state site. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, it just means that the state hasn't identified it from photographs or from people off.
Because it was big to us growing up there, we know that there's a lot of water. It's a lot of fun.
Do you want to go out and see it? Or we're all set?
Well, you guys are probably gonna go see it before me. You're all gonna have to go on a different day than me.
On September 6th, right, yeah.
Yeah, September 6th. I would, since you guys have to come back anyway, I don't think you
Yeah,
have a
there is
DEP
no,
number.
as far as, we don't have a file number from DEP,
So-
so we assume that we
We
would
can't
have to
do
continue.
anything.
I think it might be a good thing for the Conservation Commission to walk, so we'd like to try to do that on September 6th, if that's okay. At the same time we do the
Sure.
property on Dale
Yeah.
Street. And I think that would probably put the issue to bed. Well, we'll go see it and see where it is. And see what's actually on the property, and if it's off property, then it's not an issue at all for us, I think. Because I think that will be far enough away. I think if it was closer up here, I'd be more concerned, but if it's back here, it might not be as much of an issue.
And do you want to come back? We should get the number by the 23rd. You're coming back for the 23rd for another thing. So do you want to come back for that?
For the 23rd for this one also?
Do you
Yeah.
does that suit, or is that too far down the road?
No, that should be fine.
I mean, a DP number we'll probably get
You're gonna
next
leave
week.
the 9th.
That's fine.
You want to do the
We're gonna
9th?
walk at the 6th.
Okay?
Yeah, so the 9th.
The
It's-
9th would be fine, yeah, we should get the file number before the 9th.
Yeah, we'll get it next week.
After we walk, we can approve it, even without the file number, we can approve it upon the file
No,
number.
we
No.
need the file number
Oh,
to
okay.
approve it, because it's the DEP regs that we're approving it
Yes,
on.
yeah,
And
if
sometimes
you do it
they-
on the 9th, I prefer the 9th.
Okay.
All right. Yes.
Rainy, 9:30 on Washington Street in Abington. You mentioned a lot of trees are going to be felled. Are you planning on leaving any?
I'm sure they'll try and leave as many as they can, but because of the way that lot is, I mean, it drops down significantly right away. It'll be tough, honestly, it'll be tough to preserve any, I'm sure they're gonna wanna try and preserve whatever they can, along the top, along the back edge of the sidewalk. I wouldn't, be honest with you, it's, once they start going downhill, I don't see that there'd be a lot of the trees from the bottom of that slope that'll be preserved. There's a couple of really big trees out there I'm sure they're gonna try and keep, I know which one you mean, they're over in this area here.
It's very, it's woods.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
always-
And, I'm sure they're gonna try and keep a couple of those.
How close is the building to the street?
40 feet.
The other house is gonna stay the same. Nothing up to the-
This house here? Yeah, there isn't any plans to do anything on that lot.
Any other questions from the public? Okay, I would entertain a motion to continue the hearing to September 9th.
Okay.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, and I think the next one is 999 Adams Street.
Yes.
Yeah, my file didn't know before.
Oh, that's the one that you just gave us. You take that.
Okay, that was very right.
Yeah, make sure we have the revised one. And we'll probably get another one after they go to zoning, because that's life. All right. The Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on the notice of intent filed by Brandon Duffel, 999 Adams Street LLC, 999 Adams Street, Abington, to expand existing facility construction of building and parking area and site utilities within 100 feet of the buffer zone of a bordered vegetated wetland at 999 Adams Street. Hearing is in accordance with MGL 131, Section 40, governing the wetlands, and Abington Town Bylaws, Chapter 171, and any amendments thereto. Said hearing will be held Tuesday, August 26, 2014, at the Abington Hall, 500 Glenowitz Way, Abington, Mass. Would somebody like to make a motion to open this hearing for 999
Make a
Adams?
motion.
Thank you. Second? All in favor? We've got the cards already.
I'm doing them.
This is like,
I'm doing them.
and we've already got the newspaper notice. And the plan that we received, is that the right that you're looking at?
Yes, that's the same plan.
Same plan.
Okay. Probably this is
Precast.
Got it all nicely colored. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is John Cotter, and I'm with Russ Wheatley, we're from the Russell Wheatley Company. We're here representing the precast specialties business at proposing to put a building, an additional building on their site up at the town line on Adams Street at 999 Adams Street. Currently, the property is used in their process. They are a concrete, they make concrete items. Anything from a base for a light post to a concrete facade that goes on a large or a small building. The building that is proposed, shown here, it's highlighted in red, is roughly 51 feet wide and 321 feet long, and with proposed parking and pavement around the building so that they can perform the work that they have to do. The building itself is, the building in a portion of the parking lot is within 100 feet of the bordering vegetated wetlands, which we highlighted here in blue. The wetlands themselves, shaded in green, go from the town line and run, there is a dip about a third of the way along the property line, and then pretty much run along the fence where the MBTA trains run, and then it runs in as it gets to the southern end of the property. It dips down again into a wetland area. There is a 5-foot wide drain that runs along the entire length of the property, along the MBTA property, that collects the runoff from the trains and runs that from the north to the south. There is a drain pipe at the end of the property that goes under the railroad and into what used to be the Naval Air Base. what we're proposing is to use is to expand the use of the site that they're currently doing. If the building isn't gonna do, is going to be for creating concrete items. We are doing as far as the site design, we are conforming to the Stormwater Act and the Wetlands Protection Act, and that the drainage that will be created by the improvements to the site will run into catch basins with gas traps, into a drain manhole, into a proposed detention basin. The detention basin will have an outfall at the south end into a grass swale and into the existing wetlands that's been flagged by Brook Monroe. As far as a mitigation is concerned, we highlighted it here in yellow. We have a siltation fence that runs along the improvement area all the way to the wetlands on the south side of the property. The site, as it looks right now, has gone to zoning. It has been approved. As far as it needed a special permit because they were in the overlay protection district, so that they had requested that we do an environmental impact statement, which we did. They've been out at the site. They were very impressed with the site. They do a very nice job in here as far as the type of work that they do. They do keep on top of it as far as keeping the dust levels down and the sediment down as much as possible. This plan will have to go in front of the planning board for site plan review because it is a commercial property. We are in the process of getting that filing together. We will be filing it for the October meeting. And as it stands right now, and I'm in the process of getting the drainage calculations together for the 210 100-year storm as required. And if there are any questions, and it's the same, we file this, and just so you know up front, there is no file number on this yet.
So we don't have the drainage calculations either.
We don't have the drainage calculations.
So as far as the drainage goes, you have the detention basin, and do you have what else are you doing for?
We're putting in catch basins with gas traps.
Okay.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4 catch basins. Deep sump catch basins with gas traps. They'll be into drain manholes with sumps. Then they go into the detention basin. From the detention basin, they run to an outfall pipe, and from the outfall pipe, they run to a grass swale, and then from the grass swale, it'll run into the.
So will the catch basins be the sediment treatment before?
Yeah, they'll have gas traps. Yeah, they'll have gas traps.
So that's how you're going to meet the standard for
That's
the.
one. No, each one is going to be. Each one of them is the best management practice. You got the catch basin with the gas trap and the deep sump. And it goes into a drain manhole that also has a sump that works as a sedimentation basin, and into the detention basin. And then the detention basin is also a structure for the best management, and as is the grass swale.
So it'll go into these wetlands, and these wetlands flow, I'm
The
assuming,
wetlands flow,
to the air base?
They flow south, and they drain into that drain manhole, that drain head wall that's shown on the property.
The one thing that I do remember from the Mass Highway filing is that there was a issue with drainage that ran from the back of those neighborhoods across the street, and it goes to the back of the neighborhoods, the Weymouth side that goes down here. I don't know if you guys remember that. And there was some discussion, and you guys might want to take a peek at the DOT plans that they had out there. Because there was some issue with drainage, and I think that the ponding was just upgrading to you guys, so I'm guessing these guys probably have it too.
Okay.
And if you're out there, you might be able to assist them in dealing with it. That's all. I think you might just want to take a look at it. If there might be a drainage issue as far as moving stuff across the site, and if you're going to have that much more development, you guys might end up with some issues that you didn't expect. because right now it's so dry that
Right.
you're not
Right.
gonna see it. But I do know that there was, issues.
No, they have issues here, this, the back of the site over here in the springtime, they do have standing water in there.
Yeah, and I think it might be something to do with the flow here of the
Okay.
drain,
The ditch?
the ditch, or whether the ditch isn't flowing right. So
Uh-huh.
if you guys are out there, you might be able to help.
Sure.
It's a good time to fix it while they're out there. But I think DOT was looking at it as well, but there was some thoughts
Yeah,
about this.
It's a pretty deep ditch over there.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's just not, there's a place where it's just not,
Yeah, well,
It's
full of-
impeding it?
It's full of debris.
Yeah.
It's just full of, trees and branches, and it's overgrown with, grasses, and it needs to be cleaned.
if you guys have any thoughts, I'm just thinking while you're out there,
Yeah,
you might
I-
solve a problem for for the owner
Sure.
here as well.
I know this property a little bit, and as far as the owners and the people there, they keep it clean as a whistle. So
Right.
I'm sure they'll do anything.
Right, I
to
just
take
wanted,
care of it.
if you
Oh,
guys have some
absolutely,
suggestions,
absolutely.
because maybe you'll come up with something and it would, because you're putting more drainage into that system and
Yeah.
you don't wanna have your system have a problem because
Right.
there's something historically there, that's all.
Right.
I think that if I looked at the map right, there's a river, but I think it's not near your property, it's off property, correct? But back here, is this where the control tower is?
The
It's
control tower
it's
is
just a little
further
farther,
south.
further
yeah.
south, yeah, okay. The only other comment I would make is that, this area here and here looks like some of that's fairly new constructed on there.
The,
Yeah, that I
this
don't,
here, the top,
Yeah.
the crane,
they were putting in the pilings and
right.
the pieces of it, and I don't,
Yeah.
I don't think that was there before, but I think it
No,
will get
they put
addressed.
they put that in last year.
Yeah. And there's a building here to be relocated, I just don't see where it's moving.
They don't know yet, I don't know yet.
Okay. Is this building gonna need septic or water?
It's gonna need septic. There's an existing system for the existing building, anticipating the other septic system is gonna be probably,
So you
in
guys
that
are gonna
area.
install a septic system as part of this, or?
we're in discussions with these guys to see what they wanna do.
Okay, so that probably needs to be on the plan as well, so. It sounds like you need to go to planning and have them review the
Yeah,
site
they're
plan,
gonna be
and they'll
doing the whole
probably,
site plan
and they'll be
review.
doing the drainage calcs as well.
Right.
So I think, from my opinion anyway, that I think it might be appropriate that we put it off until you get to planning, because, they often make some changes, so it makes sense to.
That's kind of a catch-22, because they say the same thing on the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in this town, a board has to approve something sooner or later, okay?
But the way the regs work is that we
Right.
are supposed to actually have the planning and zoning files filed. We don't have the detention, we do not have any calcs at this point, we can't
I
really do
understand
anything.
that.
No,
But planning and zoning are
Wait a
supposed to be
minute, We can
filed.
approve the wetlands, and then they approve the calcs. That's how it can be done.
No, because our filing includes the approval of the calcs. It includes the approval of
So-
everything.
The 100-year or whatever.
The 10 and 100 year.
I think, there's not really
It's
anything
not gonna-
at the
it's-
time.
I
There's
like-
not really
I don't think it's gonna be an issue anyway, because we're gonna be filing with planning within the next
We're
3
gonna,
weeks, and probably won't be done with you for another month.
All right.
yeah,
Don't we
And
have
I'll
our-
just
don't we have our own
So just
plan,
continue it.
form that we fill out for them anyway, I think, a
Will
year?
planning hold it up because we haven't?
we usually
approved
use
it?
their calcs.
Oh.
And their
This is
engineer
what
will
happens
review
in
it,
this house.
so
Well,
that
it could-
we all
it becomes a
approve the same
condition.
thing.
Right. And then you have to go back to them.
And then, if you make any changes to what they do, then we have to go back to them again.
Yeah, so
And
it's,
there's nobody on this board that knows what a drainage calc is right or wrong, that's why you have the town engineer. So well, you still need a DEP number, right?
Right.
So I suggest we postpone until we get a DEP number, then come right back.
Mhm.
That's my suggestion.
well, and I think they have to get the septic system located on here as well. And probably some odds and ends that probably we don't see right now.
Right.
I would guess. So does anybody have any, you're the only public, I don't think you have any comments on it. Anybody else have any comments or questions that they'd like to ask at this point? So I think we need to continue the hearing. My suggestion would be September 23rd
Yeah,
at least.
I would agree.
I actually think you'd be better waiting
Yeah,
until
no,
after the
I
first
would
planning
agree.
meeting.
I
If
would
it
agree.
might be October, and at
Yeah,
least
well,
we'll
that-
have the same
That's fine.
set at that point. When does planning meet next? Are they meeting Mondays? Are they meeting this? Are you, you're not on this
Planning
one?
board, they're not, when the planning board meets, I don't think they meet this, they won't meet this Monday, I'm sure it's the following Monday.
But will you have your will you have your submittal in time to plan?
Oh, that'll be the following week, yeah, so yeah, I'll have the submittal in the time.
So the 23rd would be okay
The
then?
23rd will be okay.
Okay, let's do that. Is that okay with everyone, that we continue it? Okay, could somebody make a motion?
Motion to continue to the 23rd?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, I think the last thing that we have for business, and then we can do our correspondence in minutes, is the request for determination. We had closed the hearing, but I think we need to make a decision tonight about where we want to go from here. And does anybody have a recommendation to start off the conversation?
Well, I was going to ask, Nancy, do we have a form? Do you have the determination? You do, cool. Because we can use that as kind of a thing for our discussion.
That would be great.
Yeah. So the project is the removal of soil and also the installation of a drain pipe.
And installation of fence.
And installation of fence, that's right. That's right. And they ask, we have to decide if we make a positive determination, that means,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you,
Thank you,
too.
guys.
if we make a positive determination, of course, that means that there can't be anything done until notice of intent is done and a final order. If we make a negative determination, it means they can continue, that it may negatively, it may not affect the wetlands, or if it affects the wetlands, we have to take provisions. Right, I'm just reading this.
Well, this is positive.
Mhm.
The described is an area subject to the work and requires the filing and are confirmed. Or two, the foundations of the resource areas are not confirmed by this determination, regardless of whether such boundaries are contained. Subject to. So do we have to do we have to check one and then one of two and then one of
Well,
three?
actually, I think we should check one. Oh, I mean, if we make it a positive determination, this is where we say, you know what, we need a notice of intent here, and then we're going to do orders, and in the orders you may actually decide for them to take the fill away, you know, because that's been discussion. But if we make a positive determination, then I would think that number 1 and number 5 are applicable. And number 1 simply says the area described in the reference plan is an area subject to protection under the Act. Removing, filling, dredging or altering the area requires a final notice of intent. Full stop. And that means that he has to go the next step. He's paid $35 for this. He has to go the next step, which is to file a notice of intent, what he intends to do. And number 5 says that not only that does the Wetlands Act apply, but also our ordinary bylaws apply, and we have wetland bylaws, which by definition are supposed to be more stringent than, you know, Mr. Frady was asking vernal pools. I mean, he was getting at the idea that our ordinary municipal rules are more strict. And then, does that sound right? And then negative determination means that no further action under the Wetlands Protection Act is required by the applicant. In other words, he doesn't have to do anything else. He can continue doing what he wants, but we can actually suggest certain things that he does. So that's the framework. You know, I apologise. It's late at night and I shouldn't be talking, but that's the framework of our discussion.
That's fine. No, actually, it was good.
Does that sound right? So I mean, I suppose generally you have to decide whether what he's doing, whether it applies, whether you can get away with doing just this applicability, or if you think, I mean, there was one plan which was the plan he has. I want to do a drain pipe. I just want to remove the topsoil that I'm doing, and I want to continue on. I'm going to come back to you later on because I'm going to do other stuff. I'm going to construct a building. And then it seemed to me that there was another testimony which said, well, look, he's already put a lot of fill in already. And we're not even talking about the fill on top. We're talking about fill in the ground that he's built up to the point where it covers the Jersey barriers. It's up to the side Jersey barriers. And now he wants to put a fence on that. And he wants to drain the water that he's caused, this water to flood a neighbour. He wants to drain it out. And so maybe our request should be a bit more stringent. And by the way, it's possible, the third one, of course, is that he may well have actually filled in wetlands.
Well,
I'm definitely going to shut up, yeah.
I think that's kind of been established, that these wetlands have been diminished by all this filling in here. So as a general bylaw rule, I mean, how do you address something like that, other than a cease and desist, but to...
Too late now, right? Because he's...
Serious, what you would, if you could get the applicant to determine how large of an area that he filled in for a wetland, you would either have him recreate it in place or in another location on his lot with the
He's
notice of
saying
intent.
there's no wetlands there.
He keeps saying that, and I
And
do not agree.
you can't sit here and prove that there was any wetlands there. Nobody has to, I don't mean to, but there's one little map that says there was. I want him to remove everything because I think he's just been defiant and obstinate, okay? But as far as the way you have to look at it, can you, anybody on this board, sit here and say, there was wetlands there, and how can you prove it if he takes us to court and says, you can't prove it? Now, if anybody can bring that up, fine.
Right.
I would like to see him remove the fill, put the pipe in, start all over with an NOA. That's what I'm gonna propose, that's where I'm at. Nobody else wants to say anything about it, but that's the only thing we can really do, unless you wanna start court action,
Yeah.
and unless you can prove it,
When
we'll
you
be
say
in any trouble.
When you say remove the fill, so there's
No, if you
what
wanna
he's
go back-
filled, and then, but then there's these large piles. You're talking...
The piles are what he's gonna be removing, I'm talking about what's filled in,
What's level.
what's
yeah.
leveled right now.
How do you do that without causing more damage?
Just removing the piles of fill,
Well, whatever
Take
he's
them out.
filled, well, not the piles, no. What he's,
you have to go
I
back.
think what he's
That's-
put down is what's causing
That's
all
what
this
you can't
flooding.
tell me. You can't tell me how much he has to take
Yeah,
down, how much
right.
was there.
Right.
Well,
And
I
again,
mean,
I've said, hold on, let me
that's-
finish. I've said this from day one. I would like to see it go back, but I don't know what it's going back to.
Right.
Well, it's pretty simple because it's fill. You should be able to test pit it and figure out where the
How do you
natural
know,
source.
how do you know what was there and what wasn't, Kathy? Please tell me, because I'm in the business and I can't tell you.
Normally, if you get a competent soil scientist, they are able to tell you
They're
what's
gonna
going
tell you
on.
what was there and what wasn't there and what they brought in?
They can tell the difference between natural and
Okay.
And
You're gonna- Who's gonna hire him?
he should be, because he's
He's gonna hire somebody that's gonna say the fill was there.
well, and the only other option is us hiring somebody. But the other problem I have is that map does not show the wetlands on the neighbor's property, and that's inappropriate. I mean, that alone to me is just a blatant disregard that there's wetlands there. And there's no hay bales on that plan. There should be hay bales up or something after we're done. I personally think that he's shortcutting our system, and I personally don't think we should remove the enforcement order because 1200 is not fixed. We still have fill over there. It's all dirt. It's water that we have a drainage problem, and I don't think we fixed it. I think the drainage pipe will help. I'd like to see that go in there, to your point. I'm just not comfortable with either. And I really, really feel like we have seen a fairly large level of filling that not only our board, but a bunch of other, I think there should
And
be
the other
more
problem-
participation is from
The
the
other
zoning
problem is that you're
officer.
talking about 1212, and behind their property is 1200.
Well, part of it's 1212. Did you see his map? He actually owns part of that corner.
Right. So
That
what I'm
corner-
saying is, we're talking about 1212 Bedford Street here, which is on the corner of Highland. That pond is 1200,
Yep,
okay? And there's fill on 1200.
yeah.
There's fill
And that's a
everywhere.
totally different aspect because it's under a different name. That's all in the files. So, I should say.
But we still, anyway.
We start with the 1212, get that cleared up.
All right,
And
well,
then
I
we
don't
have to
agree
move
with the
on. But
wetlands.
You don't
law.
have to remove the enforcement order, but he has to do this request for determination and get rid of those piles.
Because I don't want him putting any more stuff there.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, if I like what you say, Mr. Noonan. But if he actually takes the soil away, and again, we don't know what is fill and what isn't, we'd have to get an expert, and it could be paid by the person. But at the end of the day, he's going to bring fill anyway later on in, because his goal, like all the other people that have come before us tonight, is to build, construction there, and he has to build up the land to do that. I mean, we just saw them today, just a minute ago. The very last one was where they're building, and some poor guy was asking, so how many trees are you going to cut down? Well, they're going to put loads of fill in, because they have to put fill to put the house. So Mr. Andrade is going to put fill in, to do the construction.
That's where the planning board comes in, and there'll be all kinds of calculations, drainage, there'll certain things that has nothing to do with it, they'll have to come and do.
And there'll be landscaping and.
All that stuff is on the
All that stuff will
plans.
be prescribed. The problem is we have a filing before us that someone filled in the land before doing any of the filings for what they want to do.
Right,
And it's a problem. That's,
But it still doesn't address my concern. My concern is still 1200, because behind their house is 1200 Bedford, correct? Directly behind you?
Directly behind me, part of it is 1212 and part of it is 1200.
And so, we're just having him remove stuff from 1212. He could go right down the lot line, which is under a different name, it's under another LLC, whatever it's called, and he could leave that there because we haven't addressed 1200.
no, 1200, we have an enforcement order on.
I don't think we
I
have
thought it was
that.
1212 we
I
had.
thought we did one on 1200. We keep talking about doing it and then we don't do it.
I don't think we have.
Did we do one on 1200, Nancy?
It was a letter that went out, and then, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that whatever drainage is done is going to change within a few years. Because I heard somebody talk about how Route 18 is there's a hold on it. But honestly, that's a huge project involving millions of dollars. That's the first thing I heard, there was a hold on Route 18 project. It's slowly but surely going to happen. And
Sure.
And it's happening within certainly the next 10 years, certain 5 years. And all that is a nightmare for drainage, that whole area. And it's going to change totally, I think.
I mean, I like the idea of this pipe that he's proposed, but who's to say that that's actually gonna function to alleviate the problem with all the water buildup? And how does it get maintained? If it gets clogged up, then solution out the window. I don't know.
We've got to do something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
Because tonight, all we've done is just postpone everything.
Yeah.
Okay? We've got to do
Yeah.
something.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I was suggesting, that we have to be pragmatic. I mean,
Do what?
we have to be pragmatic.
No, I understand.
And that's, there's no doubt that, and we talk about Mr. D. Andrade in third person, but he's right there. But there's no doubt that, we were ignored a lot in what we asked for was done. We don't know what's actually happens. And this happens on a lot of projects where people move things.
Yeah.
And we don't know actually what happened unless people come and tell us. But as against that, we are facing, something that's been already done. I mean, one way is to take the soil. I think that's a drastic thing. We can't even say to replicate the wetlands. For instance, I thought that's how the last talk was going to go. Was they're going to talk about replicating the wetlands if they did go into wetlands. But like you said,
prove there was wetlands.
Yeah, and how much wetlands have been altered? You know, each time those other people came up, I asked, so how much feet are you altering? And each one of them said no. they're not
I would
altering.
just like to take the man at his word, hopefully he'll do it, and do this request for determination, leaving the order involved, and then look at the property again and see what else might be there, but at least if he puts that pipe in, helps alleviate their water, he's doing something, getting rid of the fill at 1212. And then we can address 1200. At least we're doing something.
Yeah. And maybe we want protections in, we can't ask for applications because we don't know anything about that, but we definitely want protections in the wetlands behind, which he has no interest in going to anyway.
And
But
I don't know how much fill is there, but it's killed any wetlands. You're not gonna prove there's any wetlands there. It's all, even if there was, it's gone. So, and it, you know, whether I like it or not, this is what we think we have to do.
And I think it's important also to get the perspective of time. This is something that's happened over years and over conservation commissions. You know, poor Mr. DeAndre didn't do it just last night. It has happened over years that he's gone forward in doing it.
And he does have a piece of paper, showed me tonight, that said that there was no wetlands there. That's right on,
Hey, engineering, in fact, said there was no wetlands, that's
Yep.
why I went ahead and filled it.
So,
By conservation before.
Again.
But there is wetlands, whether he broke the 10-foot buffer zone, you guys have the same rules, all these people are coming in here and filling out NOIs for a 10-foot, we just listened to 3 of them.
I know.
We sat here and listened to it, and we're just gonna let it go, because it's filled in, and we're
Excuse
just
me,
gonna
I'm
take-
sorry.
If I take.
I'm really sorry, excuse me, gentlemen.
This is
No,
this is a
we-
private meeting.
this is a meeting closed. I'm sorry you're upset, but really we need to keep the discussion to the table. We can't talk, we can't have either side speak. Anyway, to each other.
Well,
I'm still, I hear you, I'm still.
I'm gonna make a motion.
That's
Whether
fine.
you can do whatever you want. That we go by this request of determination, have Mr. DeAndre do what's on this request of determination, and then hold the order of whatever it is that we already have in place until this is done, and then address anything else later. That meaning that he's gonna put the pipe in, he's gonna remove the fill from 1212, and the cease and desist is still enforced.
So-
And are we, what about the fence?
Well, the fence is something I don't agree with, but it's part of this request for determination, so, you know, sometimes fences make good neighbors, you know, sometimes they don't.
we could make a recommendation that he does some kind of cosmetic thing instead of the fence or alongside it. Because that's what but it would only be a recommendation. We can't force him to do that. With something to do with rocks he was talking about.
The thing I have with the fence is just gonna, and of course, I think you can only put an 8-foot fence up here, whether it's gonna block their view and so forth.
Chain link.
Chain link, and you can see through it, well, you can put the slats in, but again,
What was the purpose of the fence?
part of the privacy.
Well, it's a commercial site.
Well, actually, the
I don't know what's
fence
going in
is along, if you look at it, it's along the lot line of the Reeds.
Yeah,
And then it goes back and is a box,
yeah.
and it,
boxed in area.
and with a gate. So there's a gate and a fence there.
Mhm. Okay.
Just to
And you know, the fence is one of those things that might make more aesthetic to the neighbors. That's okay, but I would just like to, just make a motion. You can
And are
vote
we-
you can vote on it or deny it.
Right, are we gonna allow something within 10 feet of the wetland? As far as the fence goes?
Well, he's already got Jersey barriers within 10 feet. But just to parse what you're saying, Mr. Noonan, you're saying make a negative determination. In other words, that we're going to say, yes, the Act applies, but we're going to still allow him go ahead with work. So it'd be something like number 3. The work described in the request is within the buffer zone, as defined in regulations, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the Act. He's putting in the pipe and he's putting up a fence.
And he's
So it's not really,
removing the
and removing,
stockpile.
so that's not really altering. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent, subject to the following conditions. And then our following conditions can be,
Where do you see this number?
I'm looking at this thing that Nancy gave me, which is the form we have to fill out.
Oh.
Okay, and
Okay,
that's
I'm
where
looking
I,
at this.
yeah, and that's the form we have to fill out.
Mhm.
And it lays out, you know, a positive determination is come back with a notice of intent, and then we give orders. A negative determination is, okay, it stops here, you can go ahead and do what you want, but we might have, you know, some requirements.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So that's what yours is, a negative determination. Okay.
That's exactly. Basically doing what's described on this request for determination, and after that's done, enforcing the cease and desist order, and then see where we go from there.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, is our cease and desist order okay? I don't want to prolong this discussion, but, you know.
Well, the cease and desist order is not bringing any more fill, that's basically what it is.
Yes, that's it.
So,
No more
what we're doing is
alteration to the
we're enforcing, he's gonna take it out of there, he's gonna put the pipe in, he's gonna put the fence up, and he's not, and the cease and desist will make a determination that he cannot bring any more fill in.
Right.
As basic as you can get it.
Yeah. Okay. And then, I mean, if he is going to build something, he has to do a notice of intent anyway.
Correct.
So he'll come before us again.
Okay. The
motion's
motion's
on
on
the
the floor. Does anybody have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? My opinion is that there should have been a notice of intent. The wetlands are not delineated correctly on here. Do not agree with any of it, just so you know from my perspective. I just don't want you to be surprised by my vote. I don't agree at all. I think he should have filed a notice of intent, and I am not happy with the wetlands delineation, and I do not believe this board agrees with it. Does anybody agree with the delineation on the neighbor's property, that there's no wetlands there, or is there a wetlands on the Reed's property?
Well, I mean, the map.
I mean, there is wetlands on the Reed's property. We all in agreement with that?
Yes.
I would disagree with that.
Yeah, nobody disagrees, okay. I just wanted to make that point for the record. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favor of Mike's motion, please,
Negative determination.
for negative
Motion for
determination.
determination. Aye.
And recorded as ayes, but did you vote aye, Russ?
Go ahead.
And I'm a nay. Okay, and that's it for that one.
Actually, I'm sorry, can I redo that? Can we make a recommendation, just a recommendation, that Mr. D'Andredi does try and make it cosmetically, the fence and the barrier as cosmetically okay with, as possible with the reeds?
And is there
maybe
any
you guys could
requirement
chat.
for hay bales?
Hay
Anywhere?
bale. Well, he's not really,
He's digging,
one hopes
he's
that
putting
he's
in
not
the
going anywhere
pipe.
near the wetlands.
Okay.
I don't know where you'd put the hay bale.
Right,
The
that's the whole thing.
The problem
Where
is,
do you put him? He's gonna put the fence up.
I don't know, so I'm not sure.
it's
where
for the
you'd put
drainage
fence.
pipe and the
It's-
digging. Well, okay. All right, are we completed with that then?
Mhm.
Do you have are you okay, Nancy, with that? Are you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, I think we could move on to correspondence.
Okay.
The fence is because of the little kids that are over there at the daycare that's in that school. I want to put a fence up so that if they ever wander over to that property.
And 5 feet of water that's on my property.
That they fall into the water on his property and drown, it's, you know,
Right.
this will keep it from, that's all.
Thank you.
Safety of them. Thank you.
Okay, we have we'll do that one
We'll do something
afterwards.
like that.
We have some correspondence from Copeland and Page, request to session judge pursuant to Superior Court Rule Rodney Powers versus Katrina Park and Abington Conservation Commission. I think I'm gonna pass that along and let somebody read it and maybe they can interpret
Okay,
it.
it's a letter to Judge Ching because there's Besides the DP case, there was also a Superior Court case, because if you've got a problem with a bylaw, you go to the local court, Superior Court, and this guy has written a letter to Judge Chin, who's the presiding judge in Brockton Superior Court, and he says the DP proceedings have now concluded. We've got a final order. Let me see, what's he asking us? Commission seeks leave. The Commission seeks leave for this court to file, in response to the service of Parks motions, the plaintiffs have served a partial opposition in which they state they do not object to the, okay. I don't know if we actually have to go into executive session for this, because this is, the parties are, do we have to go into executive, because you've gone into executive session each time you talk about this, do you?
Oh, I think we probably would have to put it on the agenda, so that we should probably postpone that to the next meeting.
Okay, well, this letter has just been copied to us.
Yes.
And it's just, remember we were talking about the resolution, and it seems that one of the parties has objected partially to that resolution because they're looking for attorney's fees. So maybe we can talk about that. Maybe we could put that on our schedule for the next meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Only
Do you
because.
want it in executive session, or?
Yes.
I mean, that wasn't my contribution.
Okay, well then I can tell you exactly what it is then. It's a letter from Judge Chin, to Judge Chin from our council saying, look, we want permission to object because one group, the Parks, want, they don't have a problem with dismissing the action, but they want to be awarded attorney's fees. We think there's no basis in law for them to get attorney's fees, so we want to put file a short reply to the opposition. We want to say that our lawyers want to say, you know what, they're not entitled to get fees, because there's only one person that would be paying fees in this case, and that would be the town of Abington. So that's what that says.
Okay, we don't need to go into executive session?
No.
Okay. The next thing in here is a membership for the Massachusetts Society of Municipal Conservation Professionals Incorporated. Since there are no conservation professionals, because we do not have an agent, I don't think this one applies. We also have a losing ground, and it's a series of brochures that Mass Audubon puts out. And if anybody's interested, they can take a look at it.
Should we send it to Mr. D'Andretti?
And the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions is having a very nice set of training classes. I think Nancy put it in our package. And that we can go to all, they are holding all 8 units of the Conservation Commission fundamentals courses. And that I think there's some opportunity here for folks to go. I think the way it's worked before is if you want to go, you sign up and, we have money to pay for the reimbursement.
Actually, it's free.
Oh, it's
It's all
free,
free.
so it's just a matter of you having your time.
It's really cool, and they have, I think there's 4 that they have on a Saturday, right, so
Yes.
Saturday, November 1st, and then there's another 4 that you can go on the webinar, and I've done the ones in the webinar, but they're
Yeah,
not bad.
and the ones for the, the ones in person, especially the getting home before midnight, how to run an effective meeting, would be
That'd
very
good.
nice.
Yes.
So anyway, take a look. I'm thinking about going. I don't know if anybody else is.
Yeah, I was thinking of them too.
Yeah, so maybe we can all try to go to the same one. The last is a letter from Penny Engineering, and it's in regards to 123 Center Ave. Over the next 6 months, they're going to conduct field work to the cleanup of gasoline contamination at 123 Center Ave. They'll be doing test pitting in the parking lot to identify any gasoline contaminated soil. Up to 300 cubic yards of contaminated soil may be excavated and transported off-site to be recycled, and they'll submit a notice of intent prior to excavating any contaminated soil. And at this point, they don't think there's any imminent hazards on the site. So they should be filing with us if they start digging. So if you do see something without a file, we probably should just remind him when he needs to file. The last,
They have to.
they will have to file if they dig. Because if they're gonna start test pitting, they're
A
right by
notice
the
of-
wetland.
It says there, a notice of intent shall be
To be
submitted
submitted,
to
but prior to excavating any contaminated soil, but not prior to any test pitting. Which I think is kinda
It's where
interesting.
the pizza place is and the
Yeah, it's right by the, it's right
historical
by the river.
place where they built the first cars in Abington, right?
Yeah. We have a zoning board of appeals agenda, and this is to notify us of things that's coming in, and we often will tell zoning that something has a wetland on it. The first is 899 Washington Street. The second one is 5 Dale Street, which we have covered. The next one is 76 East Street, and that's over in Musterfields, right? Isn't East Street over there?
My sister's
Yeah.
house.
No idea.
Yeah.
My sister's house.
Jerry,
There's some
where
wetlands
It's my
behind
sister's house. I
there.
was born.
Oh,
My house I was born.
Yeah,
is it? That means nothing to me, Jerry, I wasn't around.
I know you weren't. That's where I grew up at 76 each. My sister was gonna subdivide the lot.
Oh.
they're gonna put houses on, at 76 East Street. Nancy, that one might have a wetland behind it, I'm not sure.
That's on the
There's no
left
wetlands.
side.
Oh, it's on the left?
Yeah.
Is that across the street
It's
from
like
your old
across
shop?
from.
Yeah.
Isn't that on the
Collins
corner?
Way, right?
Yeah.
Where
There's no
the metal
wetlands.
building was.
There's a house
the
behind
other
Oh,
side.
oh, it's over there?
Yeah.
There's no
Oh.
wetlands.
My sister lives there. She wants to
I mean, if
subdivide the
you go-
lot,
I
sell a
understand
house and have a new
Okay.
home.
But I didn't
And
know
then,
which house it was. Now,
and
But
then
you-
there's
well, you-
another
you
one
didn't-
for
You didn't
one-
listen to me. You were telling me you weren't
150
around.
excuse
If
me,
you listened to
gentlemen.
me, I would have explained it.
Excuse me? 154 Bedford Street and 622 Robert Fitz Drives. We don't have any drawings with them this time, Nancy.
No, but it says in there what they're for.
Oh, okay. Oh, one's to construct a garage at Fitz Drive, yeah. And the other is Goslin, 154 Bedford Street is for construct a residential dwelling consisting of 10 one-bedroom units at 154 Bedford Street. That sounds like a pretty big property. Jerry, on your travels, could you just sort of cruise by 154 Bedford Street?
There's the
And-
house going, that's the house I signed for, to demolish.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Was it?
All
Yeah.
right, so you've already seen it. And 622 Richard Fitz Drive? I don't know what that is.
622?
Oh,
Yeah,
AKA
that's for the
622.
garage.
Randolph Street.
Randolph Street, where's that?
Oh,
Oh, that's for the
Like-
garage I signed?
down by the Holbrook line, that end, Randolph?
What was it for? I did one for a garage, for Harris.
I think that's it.
Yeah, it's Harris. That's
Yeah.
the garage. Okay,
Yeah.
154 Bedford Street is 10 one-bedroom condo units? No.
I only did a thing for demolishing a house.
Yeah, can you drive by 154 during your travels over the next couple of weeks and take a look at it?
You just write a voucher for me and I'll gladly do it for you.
Voucher?
Well, he probably gets mileage now. He does it
yeah.
so much.
I
Oh,
spent
yeah.
4 hours Dale
Yeah.
Street the other day.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay,
And Nancy suggested I put in for.
That's a good idea.
all right. Is there anything else anybody would like to discuss? If not, I would entertain a
Want to sign
motion.
them?
No, we have to do my 2 things.
Oh, I'm not signing that one. Here you go. I would entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Okay, just take one and pass it down.
Oh, when is this one coming up, Nancy? This is,
It's scheduled for September 9th,
Just for,
but they're not gonna get through planning before then.
This is Adam Street.
Adam Street,
So-
so they're still doing their drainage, right?
I wish we
I
had a
don't
picture.
know what the issue is,
You don't, that's the
You don't.
problem.
You're
So do I.
but I know Liz
Right.
told me they,
Would
I
you
haven't
not
heard
approve a
from
thing?
them.
Actually, I read this. This
But I
is
know
sent
Liz
us
told me
already.
that they're not gonna be on the next agenda.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
22 Old Farm Road, they
Yes.
put a pool out back. They're going to put a pool out back, and there's no conservation area
Cool.
upstairs.
Cool. Anything else?
And the other thing was Dale Street, which we discussed
In detail.
in detail, so we're all set.
All right. Anything else?
Minutes?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Nancy. Thinking we were gonna sneak out of here.
That was a bad one.
Okay, let's do the minutes of July 22nd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Huh.
And I abstain, I wasn't here.
I abstain, I was not here.
Okay, and then the minutes of the executive session for July 22nd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
I abstain.
Okay, and that's the minutes.
It is August 12th.
August 12th.
Oh, there's an
12th.
August 12th in there?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
Motion to accept minutes of August 12th.
Second.
I abstain.
All in favor? Aye.
That was a good
Just-
meeting.
It was.
Okay, anything else? Okay, great. A motion to close?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you very much.
10 o'clock.